Hello, everyone. This is your daily dose of economy. Oil, yields, and USD are down at the same time. Adidas shares are up 31% this year, and Nike shares are down 31% this year. Interesting sector rotations over the last 5 days. U.S. real retail sales are at minus 0.68% year over year. Retail sales flatline before a recession. Stocks Europe 600 index 12-month forward PE ratio relative to the S&P 500 12-month forward PE ratio is below 0.65. Bloomberg Eco US Surprise Index is lowest since 2015. Europe Central Bank's Lagarde. Direction of wage growth in 2025 and 2026 is downward. German real wages grew 3.8% in Q1, the most since the reunification wage boom. Europe Central Bank's Lagarde. What we do in September is wide open. Markets are much clearer in this respect. Market participants are pricing in a further interest rate cut with an 80% probability. ECB leaves all rates unchanged as expected. Guidance on interest rates also stays unchanged, not pre-committing to particular path. ECB to follow data-dependent meeting-by-meeting approach. Nasdaq 100 plunged 2.9% in biggest drop since December as trade angst hit chipmakers, and because Trump is not a friend of big tech. 5-day outperformance of Russell 2000 versus S&P 500 is biggest in U.S. history. To put things into perspective, pair trade mega cap tech versus non-profitable tech has dropped around 15% within 1 week in tandem with lower U.S. 10-year yields. 5-day spread between Nasdaq 100 versus Russell 2000 shows pretty historic move relative to 20-plus years of data, only matched by 2000 to 2001 era. Despite the rapid rise in interest rates over the last few years, D.R. Horton continues to grow its home closings. The stock is up 11% this morning. Never forget when Meta traded at an EV/EBIT of around 6.3x on depressed earnings. Stock is up 400% since that time. Here's the growth and interest income at Interactive Brokers versus Charles Schwab since 2021. It pays to be patient. Interactive Brokers added another 170,000 accounts this quarter. That's a 38% CAGR over the last 4.5 years. Wise added more than 400,000 new customers this quarter. Total customers have now grown at a 29% CAGR over the last 4 years. Sequoia Capital just bought shares of Stripe at a $70 billion valuation. Adyen, which processes the similar volumes, currently has a market cap of $39 billion. Caution. Impact of monetary policy hits 18 months after rate hikes, typically between the 6th and 9th quarter. This means the economy should be negatively impacted by late 2024. In the past week, we've seen the biggest short-term small-cap outperformance in history. Is this a signal of the long-awaited change in leadership? This has been one of the best starts to a year in history for the S&P 500, plus 18%. The percentage of bulls in the Investors Intelligence Survey has moved up to 63.6%, the highest since December 2020 and above 97% of historical readings. There are now about 3 times as many stock mutual funds and ETFs in the U.S. as there are publicly traded equities. Where have all the stocks gone? If you held a 60/40 U.S. stock bond portfolio 5 years ago, that portfolio is now 75/25 due to the 100% gain in stocks, while bonds have been flat. Is now a good time to rebalance? The S&P 500 ETF is up 102% over the last 5 years, 15% annualized, while the aggregate bond ETF is flat. Buying a Tesla car is becoming more and more affordable with each passing month. The average price of a used Tesla has moved down to a record low of $31,000. That's 54% below from just 2 years ago. U.S. consumer sentiment has nosedived to its lowest point of the year and is at levels which in the past have been associated with recessions or bear markets. Unprecedented to see such a strong stock market, S&P 500 plus 20% year to date, 38 all-time highs coincide with such a low reading. Last 3 years, U.S. housing starts, minus 15%, Homebuilder ETF return XHB, plus 66%. The Dow crossed above 41,000 for the first time, its 4,000-point milestone of the year. Including dividends, the S&P 500 is up 19.7% in 2024. The average year at this point had a 6.6% gain. The S&P 500's price-to-peak earnings ratio has moved up to 25.9, its highest level since 2000, and 50% above the historical median. Semiconductor stocks, SMH, suffered their biggest decline since March 18, 2020. U.S. corporations now hold $4.11 trillion in cash, an all-time high. Dell falling off a cliff here. U.S. debt ratio, debt to GDP, approaches the all-time highs of World War II. Foreign purchases of U.S. homes fell to an all-time low during the 12 months through March. Data began being recorded in 2009. 10-year Treasury yield ticks down to 4.16%, its lowest level in more than 4 months. This isn't going very well for Charles Schwab. Nasdaq QQQ on track for biggest loss since December 15, 2022. Small cap stocks, IWM, hit most overbought level since October 2017. Looks like Amazon stock is also on sale for Prime Day. AMD looking gnarly. Nearly 2-year breakout in the works for Ford. Just to ruin a bull's day. Sophie broke out. S&P 500 home builders soaring to another new all-time high this morning, now up by 23.2% over the past 10 days, best since May 2020. The Conference Board's leading economic index declined again in June. 6-month annualized change is unchanged from prior month at minus 3.8%. New cycle high for continuing jobless claims, back to where they were in late November 2021. That's it for today. I hope it was useful. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.